let me see where I can keep an eye on chat. So wait. Let me just get used to this because my screen sharing is here. Okay. Where did chat go? I don't know. Okay, well, I'll get started and then we'll see. So we're going to talk about the architecture of the .NET website and some of the things with the work we've been doing there. So I'm a senior program manager on the growth and the retention team, which is Scott Henselman's team. So we have like the community team and the .NET Foundation, like Claire running the .NET Foundation and myself. So I'm celebrating my 1-year anniversary on the team. So previously I was the lead for the documentation team for .NET. So like if you navigated the .NET Core, all the .NET framework, you probably will see my little picture throughout the documentation because I've been on that team previously for like 5 years or so. And also I'm the co-host of the .NET Docs show. We had our 1-year anniversary today as well, so we were celebrating. So that's kind of like why I'm dressed up. Like we said like, oh, let's dress up. So I put a dress. I don't think how long I've been since I wore a dress before. So and the guys were wearing ties and looking very dapper. And so you can check out since the COVID started. We've been doing a lot of live streaming, so you can check out our more shows and find out the next shows for the .NET Docs shows as well on live.dot.net. And we'll cover some of those changes and what we've done throughout the talk as well, since it's our Blazor implementation. So people, I think, are excited about that part. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the site, some of the metrics, which were kind of like my journey to understand the website and where we were when I joined the team. A little bit of the architecture overview, and then recent changes and future plans, and then look at some code. So that's the plan. I still would like to see the chat because I'm not seeing here on this view. So if there are any questions, please let me know, Pete.
Yeah, we'll shout at you when there's some questions.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Thank you. And so the site is it's the marketing side. So .net.microsoft.com. So our main goals for the site is download. And sorry, going back because Dan asked me not to put a slide for him, but I wanted to introduce him. So we have Dan Zub from my team. He's the dev. And so he will be helping me out with questions about the code and anything that that might be like he's the more hands-on. So the main goals is download the entry point for beginners and our marketing. It's done mainly on ASP.NET Core Razor pages. Oh, now I can see the chat. I think. Let's see. And there was a migration. So it was previously an MVC website, and then migration happened before I joined the team. So it happened in the end of 2019. And in terms of the Azure App Services, it's a premium V2 pricing tier, so P2 V2 with 2 cores. This was like recently bumped, so we were on V1 V2 before, and then we changed it to V1 V2 on last October, and then we had to bump, like we are getting more traffic, and with the launch of live TV, we had to like react to some of the things that we were seeing on the website. So we upgraded our pricing tier at that point. So I'll talk a little bit about the metrics next, which is kind of like to have an idea. So we have 15 million page views per month on the website and around 11 million unique page views. And oops, and then 3 million downloads per month, and around of those downloads, around 1 million downloads is .NET Core and .NET 5, .NET 6. And the team is just 2 people. It's me and Dan. So you met the whole team. But of course, we have people that contribute to the site, like the PMs and some of the cloud advocates. They help out with changes, and so we enlist them as well as customer feedback comes as well. We enlist their help. We use OKRs, which is the objective and key results, to kind of drive the work for each quarter for the website. So every time we look at in some of like what are our goals and what we want to achieve for each quarter, in terms of improvements or downloads, or what, like whatever is the goal we want to track, or our social media presence. And so we do some monthly reports on that. That is all internal, of course. And then analytics, we use quite a bit. So we have Google Analytics tied in with Google Data Studio for some of the basic metrics. And then Azure App Insights, we use it a lot. And we recently added this month Microsoft Clarity. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one. And let me see if I can show you that. So Clarity is a new, it's a free analytics tool from Microsoft. And so you can see a little demo here. It gives you like heat maps and some insights into, let me go in and see what we have. Like I still need to like delve into data because we just added it like 2 weeks ago. But it was super easy to enable, and I kind of see that kind of of analytics as an additional tool. So like you can see here like kind of popular pages like .NET Framework 4.8 is still like very popular, and then you can see like heat maps, so you can check. Let's see the homepage, for example, like where people are clicking. And so very interesting additional data that we can get from this. So I'm still learning about this tool in particular, so we're still testing that one. But we just added, and then soon we're gonna be switching to kind of Adobe Analytics and giving privacy like concerns around Google and that kind of thing. So going to be switching our analytics pretty soon. Okay, I think I now can finally see the chat. Okay, awesome. All right. And then countries, this is the data from the past month, like the last 30 days of like what are the countries that are most accessing our site. So we have like China, United States, India, and Brazil, like kind of like always our top 4. Usually these 3 change, like, but UK is here too. And so these are kind of our countries that are visiting the website and downloading. The other thing when I joined the team is that I started looking into like really digging into all those analytics. So this is from Data Studio from our and like Google Analytics data. So I started seeing like what was like our 404 errors on the site, for example. And so here is when the MVC implementation went on live, and so some of the, and then from here until like February, March, we didn't have a PM on the team, right? And so like that's like how long it took to hire someone. And so, but I started looking, like, whoa, like this is not going in the right direction. And so we started looking into like what were some of the things driving the 404s. You can't control everything, right? Like some blog posts will have the wrong address, but we had like some of our YouTube channels wrong, linking to the wrong thing. We had some things that didn't have a proper redirecting place when they move things around. And then here in February, like I noticed that it was going up again, and then talking to Richard Lander about our Get.net service, which is the service that when you run an app and it's like it detects what kind of .NET framework or .NET Core version you need, it was going to the wrong place. And so we kind of consolidated everything for .NET Core and .NET under the .NET path, which was split before and kind of confusing. And so right now it's all like it used to be like .NET Core. And so now it redirects. So like some of the 404s were caused by the like having the dual path. And so we just shipped the fix like last week. App Insights also, and I don't know how many of you use App Insights. Also for the 404s, I use Google Analytics. And so I have, let me show if I have it here. So I have some queries saved for 404s. So let me show. I think it's in my user. So let me see. But you can use App Insights as well to track 404s as well. I just started with this, but then on the next slide where I'm talking about the App Insights, you'll see that we also did a bunch of changes as well to like, so here, like this is from a past few days. So like now this path works, but it was broken before. And so some of the changes that we're doing. So hopefully this will continue to go even lower on the next few weeks. But there are some things that we can control, like this person having like the download with Chinese characters here, like that's not part of our site. So in some cases, I managed to like contact the like the owner of that blog or something to fix the broken link, but in some cases it's not super practical. And then for App Insights, let me show the slide. So we started, so in February when I started, we were with server failures. We had like 2.5 million server failures. And so we started like really focusing on getting that quality improved and reducing that, like that, all that noise and all the exceptions that were occurring. And so like the exceptions, I think is like I'm super excited about this because we were at 2.1 million exceptions like when I started, and last month we had 57 exceptions. So we've been doing a lot of like, so using App Insights to like really drive that quality. So unfortunately, I think the exceptions this month will be higher again, just because we had a mini outage yesterday, and not outage, but it was like one of the APIs was not properly working, and then we found out some places where we need to improve the exception handling. So let me go.
There's a question from Dev there on how do you prioritize those exceptions? I guess when you started at 21 million, it was let's prioritize all of them, please. But now I guess that becomes more priority based when you've got far less of them. You can tackle them in an order.
Yeah, yeah, and you can see like that some are really like recurring. And so like here's like the spike we had yesterday. So and so we can now see like on where we're missing out. So it's really easy. It's like not a lot. But when you had like 2 million, we started seeing where we had the most. I thought I had, let me see. I thought I had added some links to some of the PRs we did, because that's kind of what drove. Let me see if I find the here.
I guess even if you have got 2 million of them, they'll fall into categories still, won't they?
Yes.
Is that sort of level of data exposed? Can you categorize those? Or?
Yeah, because you start looking into like when you start looking at exceptions, and let's see last 30 days and see if you start seeing like what's the category that has the most, right? And so so you see, oh, okay, I have just a few of these, but then argument null exception is happening like really frequently. And so you can see here that like it has been like super quiet until yesterday. And then you can go and drill into the exception data. And so let me know if it's too small, then I can zoom in. But then you can start like drilling down into where it's happening, and then you keep seeing the same thing over and over, and then it's like that you kind of create these buckets. And so one of the changes that we've done where we noticed and that produced like quite a significant thing was just that if they were passing non-ASCII on the URL, there was a 500 error that kept happening. And so the change was super simple. It was just like using a URL encode method, and that like took care of like an enormous amount of exceptions on the site. And another one that we did was a null reference exception. So this was David Pine that maybe some of you are familiar with. He sometimes contributed to, I think we did this on the .NET Docs show live. And so it was just changing the method to be async so that it would wait, because sometimes what was happening is that it was loading, but the thing hasn't finished completely loading yet. And so just changing some of the things really like this one also like helped to drive down like a lot of the exceptions. And so you see like some significant changes when like some of these things were implemented. And then it's also helpful because like once you have that threshold, then you can keep an eye. And I'll talk about some of the incidents we had and what we did to kind of improve the response we had. And let me. And so the architecture that we have, so we have three environments. We have the dev, the staging, and the production environment. And so we have autofill. So if this one goes down, it goes to staging environment. So like we always try to make sure that staging is like, sometimes it's a little bit ahead because like we have an approval process to go to production, but it automatically stages to dev and staging. And then we have like the core website, which I'll show the code a little bit later. And then we have different components and APIs like for the community and the live TV. We use like functions and app insights and Azure search. And now I should add like a little icon for Blazor as well. And we also use blob storage for some of our assets and JSON files. And then we have, as I said, we have like our CICD pipeline hookup. And so our code is on GitHub, but it's a private repository. And so we've been talking about whether we should open up or not. Sometimes it's tricky because this is like our marketing side, and so like and it's Microsoft implementation of .NET, right? It's not the .NET Foundation. So like, we're still like debating whether we're going to open source or not. One thing we like to use is use the website to test some of the things, to test our new versions, or test some of the new features like Blazor. And so we do have the pipeline. And let me open here. And so we were using the classic pipelines from Azure DevOps, but then now you're going to see two here, like duplicated, because Dan is working on converting everything to YAML so that we can also like plug in all the like different like components to run like some of our checks and things like that to plug in more easily into the YAML pipeline. And so the pipeline has like also once it processes the build and we merge master, then it does the deploy to dev, deploy to staging, and then the manual approval to prod, as I said. And then so we showed this on the live side. And then we're working on enabling this for .NET 6, but we did that for the entire .NET 5 pipeline. And so we have our main pipeline, which process like the master and just acquires the SDK, builds and publishes. And then we have another one, which is the preview one, that will replace the .NET version on the project files and then use .NET 6. Well, the reason that this one is not working is that there is one breaking change in .NET 6 for one of the methods that we're using. So we'll have to add some either some conditional code there to check whether we're in 5 or 6 or something like that, so that we can ship. But so we're gonna have, so the goal is to have 50% of the site running on our latest, and then 50% of the site running on each preview. And it's like the day that a preview goes out, that it's the day that that the site is running. So we're a little bit late for the preview one, but hopefully this week. And so, but for 5, we had the main one running on 3.1, and then because there was no required code changes for 5, we were just running on the day of for every preview. So we could see like the performance enhancements with no code changes on the website, I think. And so we set 50% of the traffic going to the production one, and then 50% goes to the preview slot. And so we have the 2 deployment slots, and then set the traffic according. So I tried to do like last week, I was like, oh, this is not correct. Like the sitemap was not generating correctly with the change, the required change we need to do. So like I quickly swapped and removed the preview from production. And so right now it's 100% on our main deployment slot. And so this is the example for 3.1 versus 5 that we were running, where we saw like even average responses and things like that like would be better with 5. And so we hope to dig, because I wanted the performance team to go into that data and show. And then we kind of like people were super busy, so we didn't have a deep analysis of that data, but we hope to do maybe for between 5 and 6 as well. For like management of the dependencies, I'm sure like some of you are all familiar with Dependabot, but if you're not, like I really recommend you enabling that for your repos. So we have NuGet npm, like it scans some of it scans your code for security vulnerabilities, and so it will give you warnings if there's something that you need to address. And when it's when it can, it will create the pull request automatically for you. So let me see if there's any right now. I don't know. Yeah, so this is an example of a pull request that Dependabot created for us. And so it will, like when it can, it will automatically upgrade. Um, I think we set this to run, um, let me see. So it's easy to configure. So you have like, you can set up the Dependabot YAML file on your GitHub folder, and you can say which kind of package system you have, if it's npm, if it's NuGet, and then we set up to weekly, just because we started with daily, then it was a little bit too much, to like a lot of noise for us, and we're focusing more on either like security alerts or like major minor upgrades, so that we're like not managing like every little single dependency, because otherwise it's a lot. Like we manage like I don't know, six repos or something like that. So we focus on like the main changes when possible. Um, and then accessibility is another thing that is super important for our team. And so there is a scanner that runs automated tests once a month. I would love to find something that we could run on our CI/CD pipeline. So if anyone has suggestions on how to do that, I would love to hear. Um, and then we use a couple of tools for manual tests. And so we have the Accessibility Insights. It's a free tool as well that you can download for your browser or for desktop. And then another free tool is NVDA for narration. It's one of the tools that people with disabilities can use for like read aloud and narrator from the browser. And so like this is kind of what we use for accessibility. And so, for example, on the so you'll run here and do a fast pass. It will tell you whether you have something or not. So I just found out we have something, so we'll have to fix it right after the presentation. I-
Now you'll
I'll
have to
see
fix
what.
it live now.
Yeah, I maybe we can do that once we get into the code, or
I like
Dan can fix it while I talk and we push it live.
proper teamwork. I like that.
Oh no, this is like I know what's happening. Like when I have this extension for Google Analytics running, then it finds some, so I'd have to turn off this one. Um, then I know that the live TV has one that we're working on. So let me delete turn off the Google one, and then it should pass. Okay, so let's try again. Yeah, so now if it didn't fail, yay. And then, but I know live TV has one. Let's see if how it's looking. Um, so there's someone talking right now on the Visual Studio. Brady is on the Visual Studio remote office hours. But I remember I saw one that I filed a bug. Oh, maybe we fixed. Okay. But it's really quick and easy. And then accessibility insights for Windows. It's another version of the tool. But one cool thing about this is that there is like live inspection of. Oh, I need to update. Okay, but there is. Let's see how quick it is. But there is like live inspections of of the color schemes. And so like you can see the color contrast on different parts of your page using that. And then NVDA, it's the narrator, so we can it gets like you can see like where maybe it's not announcing correctly, or it's announcing something that might be confusing for someone that it's that has some vision impairment. And so like here on the color, you can come here and do some analysis of the colors here, so you can see the different and the ratio, and it has some you can do auto detect, so you can scan through your site and see the colors. Although like presenting and doing this, yeah, so it shows. And then this probably like we'll have to take a look at this color contrast here and see if we need to improve something. So those are more extensive tests. So like we do the quick tests more often, and then the manual tests we go and do like every 6 months or so. There is a team that help us with that. And then I wanted to cover a little bit of our memorable incidents and some of the things that happen, and some of the things that we apply as lessons learned from that. So the first one was back in September, was my first incident since joining the team. And so the certificate expired. And so let me fix that. And so we use Azure Key Vault for our certificates, and so we have them in auto rotation, but on front door they don't auto rotate, and so we were not aware there, and so it expired after 6 months after. I think they're set to expire every 6 months or so, and so. But one thing that, and it was the first time that I was doing a talk for the team on that Saturday morning. So it was kind of like quite an eventful morning. And I thought I maybe would have to cancel um, my talk. But luckily we managed to fix like 5 minutes before I had to go live. And so the one thing that from like the fix in this case was quite simple. Like we just had to like change the certificate on front door. And I believe that they're working on some features to manage the auto rotation and use the latest on front door as well. Um, so right now it's still manual. So now we're setting reminders for ourselves so that doesn't happen again. But one thing that we also found out with that is that like our response for the site, because like we've hadn't had an incident since we started, like I started, our response system were also not like ideal. And so so we set up Azure alerts, and so now let me go here. So now we have alerts, and that's how we found out about the mini outage yesterday, was through the alerts. It was like kept pinging about exceptions, and because like some of the resources that our alerts were configured were not, like they were removed. So now we have, and our ping them alerts as well to notify if the site is down was also like going to just one person that on that day was out, and not like in a part. So like it helped us to kind of have a better system in place um, to respond to these kind of things. And so we're using alerts for our site. And so like, for example, this one was probably from, oh, then we have one today as well. Okay, but this one, so we have like different severities, and in some cases we changed like for dynamic thresholds, so that the 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 service will monitor whether like the errors that are happening are like not like out of the default of your regular numbers, and so it will alert you when it goes out of that threshold. So we have a few instantly, and then we have we posted on Teams. Let me see here if he responds. Let me try to find the Teams first. Okay. Okay, so then it posts on our team channel, and you have different places where you can find, but I think it's working quite well for us. Like it posts the alerts here, and so it's easy to find and reach. And then in case if the site is down, it will let us know. We also like send like there are some that will send text messages and stuff like that, and emails. And so that this first one was not quite significant, but it was our first one, and it also helped us to set up this better response system for an Azure, using the Azure alerts and ping them as well. The second one that was like a large one was when we launched the .NET Live TV. So Live TV, for those that are not familiar, is that page I was talking about. We're still like in preview. And so we're having like a bunch of live shows where people can find out like what's like if you want to learn more about .NET, or interested in particular subjects, you have here, and you can check out past shows as well for each show if you click on it. Like Mika, Mika was on our show today, and so you can see all the live streaming. And so when we went live, like Hanselman and I tweeted about it, like I read a little bit before 2 p.m. here on West Coast time. The site like went down, like completely down, and so the problem here was that like our consumption of the API. So Azure, like we started like the change, like amping up all of our scaling. Alt, is it out or up? I never know. But using one of those to increase the number of servers to for the Azure search instance that we had, and also um, our like our app service plan as well. But then we started looking into like what was really the cause here, and so maybe then you can talk a little bit about all the like caching that went into that, and like what was done to kind of improve that. And we like after .NET Conf, we managed to go back to our like our like as a lower Azure search cost as well, because like we really amped up and scale out. As Dan said.
Yeah. So what happened was a lot of people were hitting our Azure Functions endpoints at once because the tweet went out. I think it bumped up our traffic from like 3,000 viewers to 15,000 or something at once. And that just brought the service down. So what we had to do was cache all the responses for 5 minutes. And we also had to scale out our services so that more people could be on our webpage concurrently.
Yeah, and because like we were like every time that someone was hitting the page, we were going and reaching that Azure search, right? Instead of, and I think it's in this repo. Let's see if I'm right. Um, and so it was just not scaling properly, and so maybe it's not here.
Were you Blazor WASM or Blazor Server at that point? I know you made a switch.
Yeah, so it was
Mhm.
already, we always ship with the WebAssembly version. So And I'm gonna talk a little bit about the process. So let's see. Here, I think it was this one, either this one or this one. Let's see. Yeah, so James was also like super involved, and so we were working on, and so we added some of the caching. Maybe it was this one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. And so we started heavily caching the work because like we don't need people to hit that same information over and over, right? So like and so we do want to definitely continue to look into that. And so we started doing some of the improvements for the website based on that, but we want to continue to like improve the availability of the site and also like performance. So we like Dan has done some work to improve the response time on our pages and things like that. But also we're looking at the whole architecture, like should we put Redis cache at some point and maybe have like because we see like the response time in the US or the UK is very different than from very remote locations, right? And so can we prove that for those folks too? The other one that I added here as the list of memorable incidents was the site went down, the whole site went down again. I think it was about an hour well, because the UH service went down. When UHF is the header service here that is like it's a Microsoft service, is like unify header footer. And so I think like that's code that we inherited. It was like this for a long time. And I think the service simply never went down. And so when it went down, it was not like properly handling the exception. And so, and what to do when that happened. And so that's another one where we improve like, and so on that slide that I shared earlier on the 404, you can see that it went up. No, here on the exceptions, it went up here October, November, which is when these things happen. And so it helps to understand. And so now if that happens again, like we now have code that properly handles the exception, and it will simply just not show a header or a footer if the service is down. And so the latest changes, some of the things that was shipped last. So we had the live TV, which I showed a little bit earlier, and we'll dig into the code in a bit. So live TV, we've started the project initially as a Blazor web service implementation. And then we were not like happy with the performance. We kept getting that message of connecting throughout the site. Like what was the message? Reconnecting. Dan, do you remember?
Yeah, reconnecting to server because
Reconnect. Yeah. So it was throughout the
yeah,
website. I was like, I don't want to say that. And so we talking to the Blazor team. They recommended that that we use WebAssembly, and we were at the point we were also using .NET Core 3.1. So they also recommended go to .NET 5. We still hadn't officially launched, like because we launched in November, so this was October. So we went full preview on the website. To take advantage of the pre-rendering feature as well that was launched in .NET 5. So that made it a better experience. So we decided to go live still on RC, I think it was RC2 at that point. And so, and I think like we still have some work to do, and hopefully we can get some improvements from the Blazor team as well in terms of the product itself. The other one that we shipped recently is .NET Tanks, and you can see like the implementation details and things like that from Shane Boyer. And so it's And so you can see a list of people that contributed to our .NET releases. We have already some feature requests to maybe combine the releases, because now we have like a lot. And I'm thinking of maybe adding, I think people would find it fun to find like search for their name or something like that. And so, and see which releases they participated on or something like that. So we'll keep iterated on this. So this was kind of our latest launch. And then also like the new like illustration. So we've done like a sweep throughout the website to shape like a more fun and more lightweight like with the bot as the like the main character of all of our illustrations. And so this was really fun to work with our design team, our UX team to do that. And And so future plans, so enable the site to run on .NET 6, 50%. Then started working on our localization. So right now the site is just English. And so we want to enable at least the same languages that VS and our .NET SDKs and products support. So it's like 10 plus 3 languages, as they call it. Where we want to redesign the download experience. And so like the page, because I think like people are confused about so many offerings on our main page, and then like start more of experimentation, since like and kind of learn that process. And then on the CI/CD front, we want to finish the conversion to YAML pipelines and then create. So we have just like deployment slots for when you merge to master, but we want to create temporary deployment slots for each PR, so that everyone contributing and everyone doing the work can like also review their PR on a website and not having to do it locally. So that's gonna be super helpful, because working with PMs and other people on the team, sometimes I have to like manually stage something on our dev environment for them. And so this will eliminate that. So everything that we can automate is helpful. And then we can look into some of the code, and maybe you have a specific question. So either way, I don't know if you want to take a break now, Pete, and then we go into the code and questions later.
Yeah, that's a good place to let people go to the toilet and get a drink. That's really, really interesting information there. It's cool to see how it works under the hood and to see familiar. I mean, for the people that have been using these Microsoft tools, familiar tools being used
Mm-hmm.
under the hood there, stuff like the DevOps pipelines and app insights and stuff like that. And I guess it's almost like a reference architecture we're looking at to a degree, or at least I suppose that's how you aspire to be.
Yeah, I think aspiration is the right term. And we've been validating, right, the the design we have and how we can even make it better. And so without too much spending as well, right? Like we don't like not just because we're Microsoft, we want to spend resources like frivolously. So it's like you want to be very conscious about what you're putting your money on. So like those exercises have been very, like for me, a great learning opportunity. And we want to continue to improve that and have a better website for everyone.
Absolutely.
I'm interested to know, with you being such a small team, when do you get time to sleep?
I think like it's hard, and it's like when you're like a PM on the .NET team is also like, oh, the website is just one of the things you have to do, right? And the endless like the list, it never stops. And so like even though it's closed source, it's like a private repo, like we operate as it was an open source project. So like we organize using labels and using milestones. And so I do like monthly milestones to kind of track like the work, and I have to close some of the old ones. um, And then like we track like customer feedback that was useful that we got. We track it here so that like we can keep like even if we had to like we decide to open tomorrow is like it's kind of ready for folks to contribute, because it's like we try to be organized about it. And then I have a long list of pull requests to review as well.
Dan's
But
been
yeah,
busy.
yeah, but it's just the two of us most of the time, and so we try to at least review each other's work and um, and be mindful of that. So like sometimes I'm the blocker here.
What I'm assuming you've learned a whole heap. So you mentioned in your talk that you're constantly learning stuff, and obviously it's not just
Yeah.
about learning what's already there, but Microsoft are constantly innovating as well. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to rein yourself back in to try not to use all the latest things, because obviously you can only do so much if there's a small team.
For sure, yeah. And even though like I was doing some code for the docs team, right? My area was not ASP.NET on the like I joined Microsoft back in 2006 as an ASP.NET writer on the docs team, but then like I did other things in the meantime. And so when I went back, I'm back to like the basic .NET thing. So most of our work would be like console apps and just showing like the .NET CLI commands and things like that. Those like the SDK, that was the kind of the area that I covered. So like I used to be a developer before, like a web developer before, but yeah, like it was not on core. And so like ramping up on all that, and plus like everything that takes to manage a website, from compliance to cookies, and like now like the analytics and all the Azure. So for me it has been like a super fun experience to learn all that. And so like now after a year, I like way more confident on the things that I'm doing there. And um, so yeah.
That shows from your presentation. It was really good, by the way. I really enjoyed that. But
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I'm fairly, like I told you before, like I'm fairly new speaker. So like if you guys have any feedback in terms of how could it be better, that would be very lovely to hear, like things that could be or interesting or anything, so I can also learn and be a better speaker for all the user groups.
that was really good, and I liked how you swapped out your slides and showed us actual real things. We don't get that very often. Usually people sort of really compartmentalize it, so they'll do all the slides and then they'll do some demos. But it was really the context switching was good. I enjoyed that. It was really interesting.
Okay, good to hear.
Anybody
Yeah,
does have feedback, they can send it to myself or Pete through the many social channels, and we'll pass it on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it can be anonymous. No worries.
So what's did you have a slide there on what's coming next? I think you had .NET 6 50% done on that slide, didn't you? And there we are, future plans. Localization, yeah. When you were showing us that the error, and obviously the amount of people that you've got from China, is there no localization at all on the .NET website at the minute? Or
And I feel like if you really want to expand, right? Like how we can be like, and when we get the feedback from folks, like on our feedback tool, we use a tool called Usabilla for the feedback, which is the little thing you see on the back no, on the side here. Or you see that a lot of people are using the auto, like some browsers will have the automatic translation, right? And so you're seeing like all these localized screens, and it's like automated translation is not always the best. And so if we really want to send the right message, it's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm not a native speaker, and so like I'm from Brazil, and so I think it's important that like people will like in Brazil, for example, a lot of people won't be like good in English. It's not comfort, like their comfort level with the language is very minimal. And so so I think it's an important work for our platform to have our presence in other languages too. So I think this will like use up our time quite a bit in the next few months, since it's like a major undertake. And so it's not like something really shiny to show, but I think it will be really cool. And once it's done, to do talks about how we went about the localization process, like lessons learned too, and that kind of thing as well. So hopefully I'll have new talks in a few months to talk.
And you have to come back.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're more than welcome. I mean, yeah, localization is a job on its own, and probably a job for more than one person as well. Obviously, you need translators to make that work. You can't just feed it through Lewis or something like that and expect it to pop out the other
Yeah.
side to be correct. You know, we've all seen what happens when you try and do translation using Google Translate. You don't get the right results. So yeah, that job on its own would be massive.
Yeah, and so yeah, we already in touch with the localization team to kind of like start a process in terms of like getting us onboarded to their like human translation pipeline. So we want, and the other thing we're like, as I mentioned, that maybe we're considering some parts to be open, and so localization is something that we might be like, maybe we can find a way to expose the resource file, like the like whatever we use for our localization, to maybe expose and have the community to contribute, like if it doesn't make sense, or to file issues, things like that. Um, and for feedback, right now we have Usabilla, but it's something that I've been considering, is that if people would like to also, like maybe in the bottom we would have something um where they would like, where is that, let's see, the footer is missing now. So it's like,
Quick,
we'll
fix
see
it, Dan.
yeah. Yeah, like usually we have our support and stuff like that. I don't know what's that like. So maybe we have an exception happening right now. We'll see. But usually we have here on the bottom like our support links and like some of the helpful links. And so maybe we can have something like report the issue on GitHub, um where we can like could open up. I don't know. I miss some of the interactions we have like for the activation tutorials, which is like the get started for ASP.NET, for Blazor, or for console. People can, when they get into like I ran into an issue, they will log into like .NET Core, for example, in this case. And so like we do respond to like issues on that repo. And so maybe I could expand and have other issues, because sometimes like just having the anonymous feedback, you can't ask questions and it's hard to get the full context of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I like it. I've not heard of Usabilla before. That's the first time I've heard of that.
Yeah, they are part of SurveyMonkey. Like they were bought by SurveyMonkey maybe last year or something. But you'll see that like our like visualstudio.com, our website. I think the blogs also use that. So some of our sites use that.
And I'm still on localization. I've not thought of it until now, but I mean, do things like the .NET CLI tool have localization, or is that all English? I can't see how you could localize it, but the responses, the error messages and things like that.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the SDK has. Yeah, so I usually install in English now. Like now, like everything is in English. But yeah, I have like I remember that I had to like, because I was on the docs team, I was also like always reviewing like the strings that I would see on the SDK, or like when like you do like a .NET help or .NET new help or whatever, like I would see things that I wanted to fix. And so whenever I had to do a PR, I also had to refresh the regex files for the other languages. So there was a process, a special process for that I remember having to do for the SDK whenever I did submit string changes. So they do have it. You just probably never noticed because you're also using English.
It's true. Yeah, until you brought that up, I'd never thought of it before. It's a really good point. Gopal actually asks a question in the chat. Do you plan on upgrading your version of .NET each year as it comes out?
Yes. And we do. We also do review like the tutorials. So like this, like all of these tutorials, we also review for each release. And so yeah, and we do plan to like test it out before it ships. Like we're planning to do the pipeline because that's also a good way. Like because the for the .NET team, the website is kind of our like only web, like real web application that we have running. So it's like that in terms of from our team specifically, right? And so it's a good way to like see what's happening. And so, for example, when we were doing the pipeline, I had to contact the team because it was failing to publish. Let me see. So what I had to do, if you ever encounter that. And so in order to pass the .NET 6 pipeline, I had to actually do a change on the CS proj file. And I think they opened a bug on the ASP.NET Core to track that and make sure that you can publish. Let's see. It's just a little bit slow, I think. Okay. Yeah, so this one, so you can see it's a workaround to make the .NET 6 pipeline work. And so what I had to do was error on duplicate publish output files to false because it was complaining that it had some duplicate files on during publishing. And so that's something that like on the .NET 5 pipeline, we didn't get an error. And then with .NET 6, we started getting this. So if you start getting error during publishing due to duplicate items, you can add this to have to go back to the behavior, the .NET 5 behavior. So things like that, are a good thing. Like in the docs where we would try to be ahead of the launch, do some things, and then we would find errors. Like when you're testing your actual product with like real application, then you will encounter things that maybe your testing is not catching, things like that.
Cool. Obviously, do feel free at this point, everyone, to nip off and nip to the toilet and grab yourself a drink. And Maira and Dan are going to stay around for a little bit, I hope.
Yeah.
Obviously, the talk's finished now at this point, but you feel free to take yourselves off mute and ask questions and anything like that.
Yeah, and we can share the code for the live TV as well, which is the Blazor.
Oh,
the Blazor
cool.
implementation as well. If people want to hang around.
Yep.
So here's the code for our site. So we have 3 projects. The net landing page here is our main site. It's our main site. I don't like. Is this? I don't know why I'm seeing this. The waiting room. So hopefully this person will be admitted.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But then so this is where we have like the pages, the things, and like all the download pages. This is under this. And then here for for the non-ad live TV, then we created the client and the shared components. And Dan, do you want to go over a little bit how this was decided and kind of like how does it split up?
Sure. Yeah, we basically separated the shared components with the client because the client is used both on the server application as well as the client application. And that way we can use dependency injection to kind of share that service and also share the data portion of that. And then what we did was we hosted the WebAssembly in the main project. So in the main project, we have a kind of like a partial page where we injected the WebAssembly as a.
This one you're talking about?
Yes, that's yeah. So if you go into the shared folder and then the net live.
Oh, here. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm blind.
So basically this is where the server renders the WebAssembly component. And then so we kind of pre-render it on the server side so we don't have that delay. And then everything that requires client manipulation, like changing the times to local time zones based on the browser, that's loaded afterwards. And then so you can kind of see when you're on the live page a little bit of like one flash.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the new values update on the client side. But before that, we had that reconnecting to server issue because it was just the server kind of constantly talking to the client, and then sometimes we would lose that connection. So with this implementation, it was more kind of smooth for the user experience.
Yeah, and if you see here, like we have this like red dot that will change as well, but when there is a live show, so I think that maybe they just wrapped that up, and so it will stop blinking, like, and so you'll see that it's refreshing, right? And so so let's try again. So you'll first load. Let me go back. And then go again. Let's see. So you see that here it doesn't have any times, and then we'll calculate and then reload again with the time, the accurate times and things like that. After, like, with your local time.
Yeah, and that's that's done in JavaScript, I believe, because we don't. Blazor doesn't completely support everything on the client side yet. But hopefully in the future, you can write everything in C#.
Bit of interop. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the actual the actual things there are pretty simple, like in terms of the shows, and then we have a couple of APIs that we call to load up the data.
And then also what we use to kind of pass down the data from the server side to the client is, I think it's some cascading values. If you go into app.razor on the client.
This one.
Yeah. So we have the cascading value, which kind of, pipes in the video data, and then we kind of load that information on the client side. And that was something that I didn't know before going into it, but Javier on the Blazor team helped me out with that part.
Yeah, like we usually do like the work by ourselves, but then this one, since it was like we were using the cutting edge, we used our advantage of having the Blazor team as part of our team to help with that and at least validate the solution and help us make improvements because we were not happy with like before we shipped, like we were not happy with the performance and how the app was behaving. But we're still calling it preview, so I think there are a few more things that we want to ship for as part of the live TV feature. Like we want to have a calendar. We want you to be able to save some of the shows to your calendar. So there's always like things that I didn't put in the future plans because those are like super immediate change plans that we have. But we also have to like work on the website to like add all the .NET MAUI support as well, and like I'll explain to people what that is. And so it's like it's always like we sleep, but it's always nonstop. But yeah, we don't have like we talked about maybe doing a rotation or something because like I said, like I'm always on call, like um because like it's just us. And so but like it's good that we don't have it always like. But yesterday I had to text Dan. I was like, Dan, it's like I'm seeing some alerts. But as I'm gonna try to republish the API and see if that fixes it. And it's okay, that did the trick. So I don't know like why it was failing, but republishing helped. So
Brilliant. Anybody else got any other questions? I mean, I could just go on asking questions all night. How many
Sounds like
people,
Pete's trying to get a job.
always trying to get how many people here are using Blazor out of interest? That might get someone talking.
Does the .NET Knots website count?
Definitely does.
I don't use it for work, but I did do my homework for my application to my current job using Blazor, and they were impressed. So I got
nice.
the job.
That's good to hear.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I've only really tried it with the Raspberry Pi sample that Pete put up on his repo. So that was my little play around with Blazor, which is quite good.
Yep. I'm moving .NET powered robot arms with Blazor and SignalR for a demo.
Cool. Well, sure, I'll have a play with that one too.
Yeah, definitely. Get that 3D printed, Carl, and have a play.
Yeah.
So do you sleep, Pete?
No, I don't sleep. No, I've got children as well, so they make sure I don't sleep.
Yeah.
Our dev's asking when I'm demoing. I do need to do that. We did it on. I did it for the BCS Society. Actually, me and Liam Gulliver published up a Blazor server app with SignalR up onto an app service in Azure, and we embedded a little iframe OBS Ninja cam for the top-down view of the robot arm. It's behind me. And people were able to control the robot arm from New Zealand while it was on my desk here. Okay, it was quite a cool demo actually. And I mean, I say it's simple. Obviously, you need to know how it works, but actually there wasn't much code involved in getting it all hooked up. But the results looked pretty cool. That was worth doing just for the fun of. Well, just Liam, who's 6 miles down the road, was able to control the robot arm, and when we got that working, that was quite cool. But it is awesome that using Blazor offers you the facility to do all of this nice .NET stuff and not really have to touch JavaScript, which is good. But if you don't have JavaScript devs in your company, but you do have a lot of C# devs, then it opens that world up where like web forms used to do the same sort of thing, but now with a proper modern framework. It's good for that, definitely.
Yeah, and then the show, the .NET Docs show, I know that David Pine worked on this on Blazor. I thought that he had a link to the repo, but I'm not seeing it. So I'll see if I can figure out. Because I think that one was open source. And I think like it kind of like we started from like this idea for the .NET Live TV, and then use like all the like on the implementation changes, recommendations from the Blazor team, and that kind of thing. And also, if you have something to share, you can submit an idea here. So on .NET-docs.dev. And we have a lot of community members coming on the show. It's not just the Microsoft show. So we love to have the community over to showcase what you're building, something interesting. And so you could see yourself in our main homepage, like on our live TV blinking thing. And so we would love to have you as well.
Awesome. Always good to get the community involved.
Yeah.
That's why you need to. That's why you need to open source your .NET website.
We'll take that into consideration.
Hey, you can just get the community to build it like we did for ours. You see, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can sleep. Although maybe you can't. You're just accepting PRs the whole time and spending more time doing that than actually working.
Well, I also have kids, and now like we got a new pet, so like I'm not sleeping because of that now. But
Oh my, yep.
Good to know it gets better over time.
No, yeah, it starts out bad and gets worse.
yeah, I'd love to hire more, but it's like that's the budget I have, so I can only have Dan.
Sounds like Dan's doing an awesome job as well, though.
Yes, it's lovely to have him on the team.
Thank you.
Where did you say you came from before you did what you're doing now for the .NET site, Dan?
I was working at a bank. I was helping them implement DevOps for their entire bank software team.
Right, awesome.
Out in Las Vegas.
Oh wow, okay, awesome. So, you've been at Microsoft for a year or so now, did you say? Or was it longer than that? I forget.
Yeah, a little under a year.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've been on the team for a year, but I've been in Microsoft for a total of 12, on and off.
Nice. They do nice things for people that stay there for a long amount of time, don't they? Send you little plaques and
yeah,
things like that. It's really nice.
yeah. Like I'm still building my office here. I just moved from Washington to California, and so like I'm still. So I want to put the crystals and all of that in the shelf at some point.
Mm-hmm. So you should.
What was the website? Sorry, for the .NET Docs. I've seen. Oh, there it is. Is it the one that's on right now?
Yeah, it's
.NET
the
Microsoft
.NET-docs.dev.
.dev. I was looking for
Yeah.
.NET.docs. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and I would love to like visit the user group in person one day as well. I have family in the UK, so like I try to go maybe once a year if possible. So maybe next time.
Yeah, you're more than welcome, both you and Dan, whenever you like. Be cool to get some like hands-on demos of what it is you've done and the stuff you've learned, maybe spun up into a demo application to show us some stuff. Even stuff like that pre-rendering would be cool to see what was involved in getting that working. Just purely from a selfish point of view, that me and Jess actually want that. We're not waiting a year though. We are accepting pull requests on GitHub there, so
Always.
absolutely add that. We need to add it as an issue, really. I'm surprised that we've not done that already.